Good morning. We're here at the Board of Elections in Craven County, New Bern, North Carolina, with North Carolina Representative Michael.speciale, who represents the 3rd District in the North Carolina General Assembly, which is Craven, Jones,
Craven, Pamlico, and Beaufort counties.
Craven, Pamlico, and Beaufort counties. 10 years ago, last Friday, Friday before last now, October 21st, 2006, Mr. Speciale came to my hometown, Vanceboro, and gave a speech at God and Country Day. We have candidates from both parties, or all parties, every election year that approach us wanting to talk about why we should trust them to represent us in government. We have a lot of politicians when what we need are statesmen. Mr. Speciale is a retired Marine, served over 20 years. How many?
20.
20 years in the United States Marine Corps. Thank you for your service. Mr. Speciale was a candidate back in 2006, 10 years ago, running for the office that he now holds. He did not win that year. He had never held elected office. And he gave a speech in Vanceboro on its 130th anniversary of getting its name, named after another statesman, Zebulon Baird Vance, Governor Vance. And I was really impressed with what my fellow citizen, my fellow veteran said 10 years ago, running for office. But we hear everything we want to hear from the candidates when they come around asking for our vote. Well, Mr. Speciale didn't win that year in 2006, but he ran again. You ran for the State House several times over the past decade. As a retired Marine who had other pursuits of happiness to take care of your family, why did you put yourself out there to run for office in the first place? And then why did you do it again and again? What was so important to go through all the rigors of putting together a campaign, traveling not just across the counties that you represent, but across the state to educate yourself about the issues that government was involved in?
Like I said, I spent 20 years in the military trying to keep the wolf away from the door. And over the first 5 years after I retired, because I retired from the Marine Corps in '95, went to work for a company out of Salem, Virginia that had a presence here in Eastern Carolina. I did that for 5 years, but as I watched the news, as I saw what was going on, I got a little bit disappointed. Taxes were being raised here in North Carolina, and I started looking at what was going on, and I thought, we spent all this time. I spent all this time to keep the wolf away from the door, and it appears that he slipped in behind me through the halls of government. And I thought, those who can should. And I thought that I could do a better job than some of them that were up there and keep to the principles of the constitutional principles. The number one job of government, in my opinion, is to protect your rights.
And where do they come from?
And the rights come from God.
Not from the government.
The Constitution merely explains those rights to make sure that government understands. The Constitution is not a limitation on the people, it's a limitation on the federal government. I finally was the last straw when I was reading the paper, and there was an article about a lady that was trying to get her Social Security. For one reason or another, Social Security had said she was dead, and they stopped her check from coming. Well, here it was a year later. She did everything she could. She's been there showing him her ID, brought in whatever paperwork, everything she could. A year later, she's still not getting her check. Then I flipped the page, and there was Ted Kennedy with a bill to spend $2.5 million of taxpayer money for a memorial for Theodore Geisel, aka Dr. Seuss. Now, he died a rich man. His family could easily put that $2.5 million up. Why were we spending tax dollars on this? And we couldn't even give this lady her lousy $700 a month in Social Security. We couldn't get our system in shape so that she didn't have to go a year without it. I mean, it was just, to me, that was like the last straw of everything that was going on. I walked in the other room and I told my wife, honey, I'm going to run for the North Carolina House. course, I look back on it now and I say, wow.
Well, what did you get yourself into?
Yeah. But,
You did something before you ran for office. When I met you in 2006, and I was talking to the Channel 12 reporter who was here to interview you earlier, that of all the candidates running for any office, this place is littered with signs from all the candidates. I believe that you're the only one that took an active role in forming a taxpayers association. You were one of the founding members, from what I understand, the driving force behind establishing the Coastal Carolina Taxpayers Association.
That's correct. We had a Craven County Taxpayers Association years ago, of which I was a member. But about 3 or 4 years went by where there were no more meetings. I mean, nothing was going on. And in January of 2009, I contacted the folks that were the chairman the last time that they were having meetings, and I said, look, bring the books, whatever information you got, we're gonna take what you've got as a basis to start up another organization, on that same basis. And we renamed it the Coastal Carolina Taxpayers Association, and they elected me as the first chairman. I did not run for re-election after the first one because I like to see fresh blood, and because of that, I think there were a lot of good ideas, and that organization has, over the last few years, become a very powerful organization, very effective at protecting taxpayers' rights.
Absolutely. There's only a few of the taxpayer associations in North Carolina that I'm aware of, and Patriot Coalition finds itself dealing with federal, state, and local public servants across the country. I can say that I'm very impressed with what the Coastal Carolina Taxpayers Association has grown into. They are very engaged in both federal, state, and local governance, attending meetings at the General Assembly, at the County Commission, City Council, and then coming back and informing the taxpayers, which are the employers
Very involved.
of these public servants. That they hold their feet to the fire, they keep them accountable. And they're not just representing Republicans or conservatives, they're representing all taxpayers. And
they've been very active up in Raleigh. We've had committee meetings where their knowledge was presented. In the case of Common Core, they've got one of the premier folks that's has probably the most knowledge
Kim
in
Fink.
the area. Yeah, Kim Fink, with regard to Common Core. Everybody up there in Raleigh knows Eastern Carolina. They know Craven County. They know this area because the people have been up there.
Absolutely. What advice would you give other statesmen? Because that's the way I view you as a statesman, because Mr. Speciale, and you'll see it after this video, the speech he gave 10 years ago, never having held public office, a candidate, warning your vote, made some commitments and promises that if he was elected, what he would do. Well, he didn't win in 2006. He won in 2012. And he's up for re-election for his third term in the North Carolina General Assembly, 3rd District. People are going to find out if you walk the walk that you talked 10 years ago, because they're going to hear what you had to say then as well. I didn't play the tape for you because I didn't want to bias you, but having listened to it myself, there's nothing that you have to explain away or apologize for today. From my understanding and everything that I've seen since you've been elected, you are who you say you are. That you don't talk out of both sides of your mouth. That you take your oath as important now as a public servant as you did when you were a Marine. That it requires a working knowledge of the Constitution, and I've found that you have that. I heard something about you that was rather flattering, but neither the Republican or Democrat parties really want this news out there. But from what I understand, you're the conscience of the General Assembly.
I was referred to that by one of the other prominent members of one of the leadership team. Introduced me to someone else and said that he considered me the conscience of the House.
Well, that's a bold statement, but having been up there myself, most of what Representative Speciale does is not in front of cameras. He rolls his sleeves up and does the heavy lifting, and sometimes he's the sole voice of reason in the General Assembly. People get excited about a schema to fix a problem without considering the ramifications of those solutions. And I've seen more than once where Representative Speciale was the only one that stood up and said, "Wait a minute, fellas, you're overlooking something." And it was usually about our core principles and values, those Judeo-Christian principles and values this country was founded on. He doesn't get caught up in the weeds. If you want to learn more about Representative Speciale and his work in the North Carolina General Assembly, where can they go find out more information?
They can go to my Facebook page, Speciale Forensic House, or Michael Speciale, or they can go to my website.
And
I haven't done a real good job of keeping the website up, but it's basically
and the website,
michael.speciale.com.
michael.speciale.com. You can see his name right here on this sign. If you've not voted yet, you need to get out and vote, and you need to bring some of your eligible voters, fellow citizens with you. We're here with Michael Speciale. He's running for the NC General Assembly, District 3 at the Craven County Board of Elections, and we thank you for your time, sir. Please go vote.
Again, I am Michael Speciale. I am running for the North Carolina House for District 3, which covers this area. This is a special time, 130 years. As we celebrate some of the freedoms, or we celebrate what we have, there's another there's a special document that was written even 100 years before that. And the Declaration of Independence, and I'd like to recite a little portion of it for you. When, in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal stations to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which compel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. And ladies and gentlemen, our consent is given and our consent is revoked at the ballot box. We know that we are in a campaign season. We know that elections are coming up. It's very, very important that every one of us participate in ensuring that those freedoms that our forefathers fought for us, that our Navy and our Marines and our Army and our Air Force and our Coast Guard continue to preserve to this day. Because they fight the first part of the battle, ladies and gentlemen. They get the freedom. But it's up to every one of us to preserve that freedom in the halls of government. And that's where the battles need to be fought now, is in the halls of government, so that our rights and our privileges do not get eroded one little piece at a time until finally we're turning around and we're saying, what happened? If you put yourself back, those of you that may be 30 or 40 years ago, and you look back, if somebody would have come up to you and said, in 30 years, here's some of the things that we'll be doing in America. And you know what kind of things I'm talking about. Abortion, gay marriage, some of these things, you would have said, no, that's not possible. America will never go in that direction. Unfortunately, there are a lot of us, there are a lot who are not here today because those things have been allowed, because the law has changed one little bit at a time. I'm asking you, no matter who you vote for, take a stand. Your vote does count. And those of us that are campaigning, we're working really hard. We're offering you a choice. Make that choice. Cast your ballot. And don't forget to cast your ballot today, for the governor of Vanceboro. Thank you.